Welcome back to House Guest with me, Hailey Fennell. I'm a psychic medium, and this is the podcast that connects you to the other side. And today I get to connect you with Sarah Frick from The Works. Welcome, Sarah. Thanks for being here. And I also have the beautiful co-host with me, Court Bechtel. She is here because we are switching things up on the podcast, and we are starting a very different brand that we're excited to tell you guys about. Welcome, Court.
Thank you.
Sarah, we know that you are very, what's the word for it? Adept to grief. Like, you have experienced a lot of it in very different ways in your life, as Court and I have too. But we would love to get you on here today just to talk about The Works, your life, community, and how you build community. I'm going to tell you this little story. When I started going to The Works, it was at a time where I was on the precipice of getting into what I'm doing. I'd been doing it for a few years, not half-assed by any means, because I can't do anything half-assed, but like I just was like on the brink of being more public with it, and going to The Works was one of the things that really helped propel me forward and made me realize that, like, oh, I can do this because I'm in a community of people that want me to succeed. And I feel that way in the room when I take classes at The Works. It's like something that y'all have going on that is unlike anything else. So first of all, thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that.
And I would love to hear how you got into The Works. I say that and I ask that because I have a feeling that you're doing the thing that you're most meant to, supposed to. The purpose that you have in life is something that lies in The Works. Do you feel like that's true?
I do. I really do. I mean, I've been teaching yoga. I taught yoga. I told Carter this morning, she's working on this brand. This is like sidebar, but she's working on like a brand relationship. And I was like, you need to pitch one of our younger girls. I was like, it's time for me to like start branding like Depends and essential oils. She's like, you're not dead yet. Stop. I've just been doing it for so long. And, but I started teaching yoga many, many, many years ago. I had another yoga business before this. And I just decided to go out on my own and to leave that business and open The Works because I love movement of all forms. And I had found that I kept hitting my head like on the ceiling of what is quote unquote yoga and what is not. There's a lot of dogma involved in yoga, which is people telling you, well, that's not yoga, that's not yoga, that's not this, that's not that. And I was sick of it. Because I know for me, like, yoga is about connection, community, healing, movement, breath work. And that's for me how it is. And so when I left my old studio and we decided to open The Works, I just wanted for people to feel like really connected. And for them for when people were in their rooms to like, it wasn't just about like teaching the class and leaving. Like, I wanted the people that were on the mats to be, for the instructor to be as invested as the people that were on the mats, basically. Yeah. I was talking to one of my younger instructors yesterday about it, because we're working on some continuing education and bigger trainings. And she's like, well, how do you explain it? And I'm like, that's the hardest thing, is like teaching someone how to be in the pocket. But I think the more that we do something and the more that like people experience it, kind of like to your point, like you were in there and you were like, okay, I feel my pocket, or like, I feel like I can do this.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. I mean, truly, it's like, when you're in your zone of genius or when you're in your flow, that's when you give your biggest gifts, in my opinion. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of like, we hold back because of fear or because of like what people think, or we're waiting for someone's approval. And from my own experience, like, not shit happens in that space because that's super stifled,
Absolutely.
And another thing too, and I think you and I've spoken about this, Hailey, but like, when I opened these studios too, I was like, we're not going to talk about things that are just comfortable, because everybody has something going on. And I've used this example many times because it's an easy example, but when I started doing fertility many, many, many years ago, I remember telling people like, oh, I'm doing fertility. And they're like, me too. And I'm like, why are we whispering? So talking about things that are maybe uncomfortable, to give people permission to be able to like, let that guard down, heal that part of themselves, and like help someone else, because we're just all extensions, of each other. And like, I think Ram Dass said it best, and it's been said so many times, but like, we're all just walking each other home. And I love that.
That's a wild thing that Court and I have been saying to each other.
Yeah.
It's like full circle.
It's so true though.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you have different life experiences. You have different life experiences. Lindsay has different life experiences. But like there is like a continuum of who we are as people, as humans, as women. And I think it's our responsibility, especially when you are working in a higher consciousness and a collective, like to hold space for that. Because I live in a bubble, I think, too, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But I think everybody operates like this. And then I get out in the real world, and I'm like, nope, that's not right.
Yeah. Do you mean like you think everybody operates like they're moving and they're taking time to themselves, like space to figure out their shit?
I think that like people, I'm like other people are like consciously aware of like how they're like who they are energetically is affecting people and this and that. And that's not the case.
No. Yeah.
And I think that's just like, even if, you know, like me personally won't touch or affect everybody in the world, like we can't look at it like that. Like Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Jesus, like Bob Marley, one person, person, you know? So you start with one person and you make like a tiny little like pebble, and then hopefully like you can attract more people who want to put that out as well.
Yeah. I love that.
And we teach fitness.
Well, you say this all the time. You say, get in the room.
Yeah.
And you say it much better than I'm going to be able to relay it. But the idea is that's just the first step.
Yeah.
Like, and I think you posted this the other day. It's like one day or day one. And that really hit me hard because I was like, gosh, like what if I was just still in the 1 day phase rather than making it day one?
Yeah. I think like for me professionally too, I throw a lot of things against the wall that don't stick, but like I just keep throwing them. And I'm sure it drives some of the people, like not little, but we are a small team for the business that we are. And, you know, they're like, oh, what's she going to talk about today? But that's how we started things, you know, like our Renew studio, which you were talking about, Courtney, is our studio that's not heated. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit more nourishing in the sense of like the nervous system. Like I started looking for a lease for storage space because we just have so much stuff. And my friend who was helping me found the space for that. And in comparison to the prices of rent around here, like it was insanely cheap. Like I probably could have gotten storage space for almost the same price. I mean, the way that worked out. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to sign the lease. And Carter's like, well, what are we going to do with it? I was like, well, we'll do storage and and then we'll do trainings. Maybe we'll do some trainings. And I was like, or maybe we should like open another studio and like rebrand it and reconcept it. And she's like, are you freaking serious?
Yes.
But it's just like, you know, you just kind of got to try it. And I think if every single thing you do is a win, you're, in my opinion, like you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you're playing safe.
Yeah. You have to fail.
Yeah.
You know, I love throwing things against the wall and the confidence to go, it might not work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the point in doing this every day if you're striving for perfection in a room where you really want honesty?
Yeah, for sure.
So crazy.
If I could be a professional spaghetti thrower, I just like want to do that all the time.
Try it. Keep practicing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably why we got in business together, because Court and I can't help but be like, what about this idea? What about this idea? What about this idea?
Yeah.
And like you have that same energy too. And it's like, when you're in the thing that you're supposed to be in, you just can't help yourself.
I mean, I told Carter, I have like two speeds. I'm either like a serial entrepreneur or I'm rotting in bed. Like my daughter, we were just on spring break and my daughter, has always been like a great sleeper, and she just still likes to sleep with John and I, and we slept in like every day, and she just like, I just want to roll around in bed. I was like, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice.
Well, and you're probably so extroverted in your life every day that you have to recharge it some way or time of the day.
Yes.
To be like introverted for a moment and then come back out.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You're also
especially as I get older too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm tired.
We're gonna talk to you about like your menopause line after this, and like what other things we can get you hyping.
Yes.
Perimenopause, menopause, infertility, all things that women are going through, and in your studio.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that's in your room is a big sign that, I've only been to the downtown studio.
You have?
People keep asking me, they're like, no, but I've seen you at the Mount Pleasant one. I'm like, that's kind that somebody else looks like me. But I've only been to the downtown.
You have to come to Mount Pleasant. That's like my jam.
Well, I know the secret's kind of out now. I'm like, we're moving that way.
Yes.
So I'll be there soon. But you also have the sign Grace, and I think it's in both rooms though, right?
Yeah, it's at all three studios.
Yeah. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah,
I know
for sure.
a little bit of the story, but I'd love to hear it from you.
So Grace was our first daughter, and John and I got married. I think I was telling someone this the other day. I was married before John, but really briefly. And now that I work with 20-year-olds, I'm like, I think I was married at 25 and remarried at 29. I'm like, wow, teen bride. And I wanted to have a baby so bad, always. I've always wanted to have kids. And John was like, let's just be married for a year. So I got pregnant actually on our first anniversary. And then we went through the pregnancy. Everything was seeming to be like good and fine. And like you guys both have children as well. Lindsay has children as well. Like that first, for me, it was like everything's brand new. You don't know anything, like the nursery, and you're getting the wipes. Like everything was set up so beautiful in her nursery. And it was like just like the planning of the whole thing. And then when I was 36 weeks, I went into an appointment, and my midwife was like, well, you're measuring small, but you're super fit, you're tall, you're fine. And I was like, I just feel like I want to have an ultrasound. So they got me on the ultrasound, and in that ultrasound, they saw that she was measuring small. So the doctor on call was Natalie Gregory, and she was like, I think you should go to MUSC. Everything's going to be fine. We think maybe your placenta is just done, and it's time to get the baby out. At MUSC, they didn't really see anything. They saw some things, but it actually ended up when she was born, wasn't even anything. And so they wanted to get me to 37 weeks, 38 weeks, maybe 37, I can't remember. And they got me to where they wanted me to be. We went in, we got induced, and I was laboring great. And then when it was time for her to come out, I started pushing, and they lost her heartbeat, which is normal, which can happen to a lot of people. But then when she came out, she wasn't making any noise, and like the whole hospital went like code blue, and John's on my left, and like Barbara Stone, who was my midwife at the time, was like in front of me, and I was like, what is happening? Where's the sound? And Barbara's like, because they took the baby immediately, and they were working on it. There was like 2 teams of people in there. And I was just like, what is happening? What's happening? And Barbara's like screaming at them, what's happening? And she's trying to like, heal me and fix me. And I just looked at John, and I just knew. I was like, we will do this again. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I just knew. And so they had to take her out, and they intubated her, and they brought her back in for us to see her. And she was like in a little incubator because they had to take her downtown to MUSC, which is our teaching hospital for those of you that don't live here, because we didn't have a NICU at the hospital I delivered at. And they brought her in, and like the fear like that in her eyes is like one of those like drop you in your body moments I'll never forget, especially having other children, and like, when the baby's born, they put them on your chest. Like we don't have any of that. She just looked so terrified. And so I had done an epidural at the end of my labor, and I had to wait for it to wear off, and so I had to spend the night there. We got up the next morning, and like leaving that hospital without a baby is like some kind of torture. And I've said this before on podcasts, but like something I don't wish on like my worst enemy, Right. And the nurse that let us out was so kind and lovely. She was just this older woman that worked there, and she was like, just keep your head down. It's going to be okay. And so we got in John's truck and went to MUSC, and she was in the NICU there. And like, she was the biggest baby in the NICU, and she looked totally normal like a baby. What ended up happening was she had what's called a paralyzed diaphragm. And so some babies are born with half a diaphragm that's paralyzed, but they can tack it up, do the surgery. There was no way that they were going to be able to do this. And one of the head doctors came in, and he was talking to me, and he was this really lovely, brilliant man. And he was like, I hear you're in yoga. And I said, yes. He said, so you know how important breathing is? I said, yes. He said, this baby's never going to breathe on her own. We're going to do everything we can, but just know that. And so after the second night there, John and I went home, and I called up to the NICU, and they were like, we've tried to call you several times. I never saw the calls, but they said, we think you should come up. So we went up to the NICU, and she was just really struggling. And so they ended up taking the tube out and letting us hold her, but until I was ready, like this really nice male nurse just like hand pumped air into her body for hours. Yeah. I was like, I felt bad, but he was like, I will be here all night.
Yeah.
And then he stopped, and she passed, and it was like hell. Yeah. I mean, it was like, Courtney, you were just saying how you lost your best friend, and the difference. Like I had lost my mom a few years before that, and I've never in my life felt pain like this. Like it was just so unnatural to be like lactating, and you look pregnant still.
Oh, you're in the fight of your
like
life,
bleeding, and like it just, I was fucked in the head. And So we went back to that house, and I was like, I can't be in this house anymore.
Yeah.
So it was, I think, you know, by the grace of God or the universe or whatever, we ended up listing it with a friend, and it sold within like 2 days, like full asking price cash. And we were like, I'm out. And we moved out to a little house on Sullivan's where I just grieved and grieved and grieved and just could not figure out what was going on. And yeah, it was just awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
And you just lost your mom. I mean, I just can't imagine how hard that was.
Yeah, it was not a very good season of our lives at all. Grief is so hard on everybody too.
It is. And in a full circle like moment, just so you know, you don't know, Hailey does know, but like we moved here 10 years ago. I lived in New York, and my sister lost a baby at 9 days, and I was physically there. So I did not go through it like you did. So I could never know that. But like, my sister's my best friend. She's 8 years older than me. And like, I was with her when she saw him for the first time and all of that. So Hailey knows that like some of my biggest wants and like what we're going to do with this grief space and what you've meant for me, because you don't know this, but when I moved here 10 years ago, I'd just come out of that. My sister lost his baby unexpectedly, lived for 9 days. He was in a life flight from where they lived in Maryland to DC. I like checked her out and drove her to DC, all of it. So
oh my gosh.
In the trenches as like a wingman that couldn't leave, but also is like, how is this? You're in like is this real? Yeah. Every minute, is this real? Yeah. And then everyone wants to help and you don't know. Like Hailey and I talk about my sister all the time, because it's like, how do you help? What do you do? Because especially when it's not expected. Yeah. And that's what, you know, I went through with her. But what you did for me, which I want to thank you, because you don't know, is when I moved here, I unexpectedly became pregnant, but I had so much anxiety about it, because all I could think of is like, this isn't going to work. And I almost like for months couldn't get out of that. Yeah. Going to the works was like the safe space of like, get into like a yoga class to get out of your bad thought loop. Yeah. And that's what you do for so many women, like sharing that story, because I knew that story. I think a friend told me. And then I was like, okay, well, I live nearby, so I can go. Yeah. To the Charleston Power Yoga? Yeah. And go into a class. Yeah. And I never even like stopped you to tell you, but you helped me so much because just of like the vulnerability. Yeah. To know that. And then also just kind of like be in a room with people that had raw emotions. Yeah. Because I was just scared. Like we just moved here. I'd been married a year. I was like, oh my God, you know, I don't even know how I landed in Charleston, and I'm having a baby, and I'm so scared, and I couldn't, you know, really confide in my sister that way. Because
I was going to say, and then there's that whole other element, because all my friends were pregnant, and it was like everyone's first, you know, and I was happy for them, but I was so sad for myself. I could not be around it. Like, and I didn't, and my sister-in-law had a baby right before we lost Grace too, and it was just like, oh my God, it was just so heavy. Yeah. And nobody really knows how to act or what to say, because it's so dark. It's like, it's hard. It's not, I'm not saying it's not sad when your grandparent passes or something like that, but like a baby is just so dark.
It's different. Yeah, it is.
In my opinion, but, yeah, it's a really tricky space.
About what, because like a lot of what we talk about is you've been through so much, and then you're so strong. So like you are some shining light in the room all the time, because we're like, how does she do that? You know? So what was helpful in the times of when you go back to like, okay, we got this house on Sullivan's, and everyone's pregnant around me, including family. Yeah. Like, can you think of anything that people did for you that was?
I think the people that were just there. I mean, you know, I've talked about this again before as well, but like there were a lot of people, and you know, that were like, I just don't know what to say. And I understand we were younger too, and like I get it. Like it's awkward as shit.
No matter what age, it's so hard to know what to say.
Totally.
But that's
I think the thing is, it's like the people that were like, I don't know what to say, but I'm here. And if you want to like sit on the floor and cry, like I'll sit on the floor and cry with you. It's like, don't like throw me a sandwich from across the street. Like come sit on my couch. You think you're uncomfortable? I'm fucking uncomfortable. Like this sucks.
You're uncomfortable in here.
Yeah. And like the people that would just sit and cry and just listen and drink wine with me and walk with me and work out with me and like pray with me and like were cheering me on. And, grief can be very isolating. It can be very isolating and selfish are two very different words, but like I was so consumed with my grief for a long time that I did not know how to see outside of myself either. And so the people that knew my heart and like loved me and were like, you're in it right now. Like you've given so much to us. Like we're going to give back. That didn't have expectations of like, well, it's a new day. Why aren't you better? Why can't you do this yet? You know?
Well, and you just come out of a loss to another loss. So you just reopened all of it. And
totally.
had to navigate.
And without your mom to go through that, it just was,
It's so hard.
Yeah.
So when did you get back into teaching after that?
So I think I took 2 months off, maybe a month. I took some time off. I did take time off. And my business partner at the time, her name's Beth. I was like, I don't know if I'll ever teach again. She's like, you'll teach again. She's like, and I was like, I'm like, it's kind of like I talked about so much stuff before I lost Grace, even with losing my mom, going through a divorce at an early young age, like whatever life throws at you. And like, it was almost like I was coaching myself before I knew I needed it. Yeah. And I talk about that a little in the rooms too, because some of the demographics, especially downtown, it's a lot younger. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you might not know what I'm saying yet, but you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like something, and not in a mean way, but like life comes at you fast.
No, I think it's helpful.
You know, and it's like just listening and paying attention and starting to practice those tools, breathing, asking for help, you know, allowing yourself to feel grounded and doing the things that feel good. Like movement works for me. It just does. Yeah. It's my thing, you know? Yeah. And starting to put those into practice. So when you're like at the bottom of the barrel, you don't have to like, now I'm going to cultivate good habits, you know, right. On top of this.
It's like now that you can't fall from the floor, right. Like, what are you going to do?
Totally. Yeah.
So we were talking before, you just lost a friend.
Yes.
And that's a new wound that's opening. Mm-hmm. And is there anything with what you're wanting to do at the Works right now? Are you called?
You know, so it's kind of interesting, like how this all played out. But so Katie Penta, who is our head cycle instructor, because we have 2 cycle studios too. So our friend Tom passed away about 2 weeks ago from ALS, and him and his wife are very dear friends to me. His wife, Jen, is like a sister of mine, and I've been very close to them and very close to the situation. And Katie lost her mom, well, let's see, how old are her girls? 13. So maybe 12, 11 years ago. Okay. And so we work very closely with an organization called Compassionate Care ALS. So we do a big event every other year that's called Motivated to Move. We bring all of our bikes. Our yoga instructors come out. We partner with another fitness team called the Ethos Guys. Joey Welling and all the Ethos Guys come out, and we put on this huge like fitness thing with our buddy that owns Uptown Social, Keith. He lost his dad to ALS too. Oh, goodness. So a big part of like our mission is to give back to them and to honor the people that we had lost. That's incredible. So last year we had it, and Tom actually came. Jen participated. I taught. And there's like hundreds and hundreds of people who participate, and it's really cool. And Tom actually came out, and Jen spoke. And I just think raising awareness is absolutely. I knew nothing about ALS, nothing. And you know, Jen spoke a lot about being a caretaker, because that was a huge part of her life for almost 6 years, 5-6 years. And I just think that's the best thing you can do is raise awareness. And then I'm so proud and impressed with Jen. Like, she's been in the room, let's see, I think she's been to 4 or 5 classes since Tom passed, and she was out of town for almost a week. Like, she knows that it heals her to move into sweat.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you share, do you know this story of like the room cheering her on for her mountain climbers?
Yeah, when I was there.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Well, I was supposed to be at that class. My girlfriend's like, you missed it.
Oh, and, yes.
She told me what happened, and I feel like for people that are listening that don't know about the Works, it's like the perfect example of what the Works does for people.
Tom passed away on a Friday, the first Friday in April, and then his funeral was the Friday after. So Jen and I went and took a class together a few days before that, and then she was like on Thursday, after we had like done all the planning of the funeral, like everything, I was like, do you want to move? I'm teaching a class. I'll set you up. You can come in the back door. Like, da-da. She was like, just put me up front. Cause 2 of her really good buddies, Baker Bishop and Aaron Siegel, are like, they're all like really tight and good buddies. And then our friend Kira was there, and I set them, you know, she was like, I'll be next to you. I was like, okay. And so it's a vinyasa class, which means we don't do cardio. But like one thing Jen always said when she was going through this, she's like, when I'm in there and like you call high knees, all I can think of is like run as fast as you can because Tom can't do it.
No, I love it.
And so we're like at the end of this 60-minute, like grueling 612 degree class. And I was like, y'all, my best friend, like I opened the class by talking about it because I'm not going to not talk about it. And obviously I'm like, we're all crying. But I was like, can we muster like 2 minutes of high knees for Jen? And I mean, the whole fucking class like stood up and went ham. And we just like turned the music up as loud as we could. And we were just like going crazy. I mean, I was on her mat just like jumping. We're all like hugging, crying, sweating, snotting, you know? But like, that's the thing. Like you don't have to know someone by name to like energetically support them.
Yes.
And I think energy is like such a boomerang too. Like we get, you know, what we put out there, we receive.
Just being in that room to be able to support her that day. Yeah. Like, you know, my girlfriend was there and she's like, oh, you missed it. And it was magical. Who was it? And Kaylin. Oh yeah. And I was like, my girlfriend had come in, she has breast cancer. So she has like she had just had a mastectomy and stuff. Yeah. So I was like, I feel like the class is going to be too much for us, but she was going to hold a mat space. Right? Yeah. And so anyway, she wrote me that after and I was like, oh, I just could like visually see that.
It was really, it was like a magical moment for sure.
Yeah. And that's what you know, your team, everyone does it, cycling and it works. And now Renew. Yeah. But I feel like for the listener, when you're in a hard spot, like we've all been, just to get in the room when you say that is so real.
Yeah. And you know, like there's a lot, I mean, I think I'm basically like a therapist in town. I know everyone's deep, darkest secrets. I keep them to myself.
She's going through a divorce.
But like, I look around the room, I'm like, girl. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, seriously, like literally that morning, another woman that was in the class was like, I'm going to file for divorce after this. Yeah. I'm like, damn. Like, and I think that's the thing. It's like, and I say this in my room a lot, like, you don't have to just show up on your good days. Like, we're not expecting that, you know, you gotta like, you need to have a place where you can like, show up on the days that you just feel like absolute shit. Totally. And you know, like I don't ever regret moving my body ever. Yeah. Maybe I do half the class instead of all the class, but like I know that like energetically I feel better.
Yeah. And just get a drink of water and act like you're so thirsty. Yeah. But really you can't
breathe
one more time, you know? I like the get in the room and like get out of your head. That's for me what it is. It's like get in the room, get out of your head just for.
So the room is like the room, but also the room is the room.
Yeah.
Get in your heart.
Another thing you always say is I'm calling you in, not out. And I just love that so much. It's
as like, instructors, we're always talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, truly.
I mean, same.
I see a lot of, especially the class that you take, Hailey, downtown. I only teach one class downtown, but it is like a younger demographic. And I'm again not calling out, I'm calling in. But we've had like a phone epidemic, and like most importantly, I'm like, I'm gonna break your phone, and then I'm not gonna buy you a new one because it's not supposed to be in here, and they're expensive.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what they're doing with them.
Well, I do. Sometimes they're Instagramming. But the thing is, I'm like, you don't know it yet. Yeah. But you got to put that phone away.
I know. I've been on it all weekend. Like I've been on the loop of the anxious generation, and like listening to all his podcasts. So I'm like well, it's like nobody has an attention span anymore. Like I said in class this morning, Kira and I were talking about it after, like being present for 60 minutes is hard. It's hard for me. Yeah. And it's like my kids watch crap and that's on me. But it's like they watch these YouTube shorts and it's like this. Yeah. They don't know commercials. They don't have any attention span. Yeah. And like Kira and I were speaking about this today with some podcast she was listening to, but like people with attention spans are the ones that are going to take over the world. Oh yeah. Right? Like if you can't do anything for, you know, an hour, like how are you going to build a career? Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you went there because, okay, so I've been talking about it all weekend. My sister's in town now because of Easter, you know, and we have teen niece and nephews, and then we have littles. So my youngest sister has 2 and 3. My oldest sister has 17 and 20. Oh, wow. Okay. So it's like and then I have 6 and 9. So we're just, you're in all these different ages, right? And I'm pretty tough on screen time because I'm just so scared of what I see with teens right now. And, you know, we're always talking about it. So then I was also listening to his interview of the Anxious Generation with Oprah, and she's kind of talking about this data points and all this. And then I listened this morning to Jay Shetty with Mel Robbins on your purpose. And it kind of goes to what you're saying is like, you don't have to have this enormous purpose and this huge gift that you're giving to the world. It can just be small. But I just feel like there's something right now where we're like, get off of the screen and focus on something else. And if it is an hour with you, it could just be that for someone right now. Yeah. Yeah. Is like, put it down, step away, Give back to just yourself, if anything.
Right.
And that, like, getting out of your mind.
You can't hear anything when the noise is so loud. And I mean, I do that. I know, like, I'll sit in bed and just like zone, you know, because I'm like, I just need to numb for a second. But like, if we're constantly in that like loop, like, that's a scary place to be too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just where you are comparing yourself to people that are always showing themselves as their best. Like you just said, like, get in the room and be terrible and come on your worst day. Get in the room and see that and then go, oh yeah, I'm not as bad as her.
Right.
Look at me. Like, you know,
look at me living.
Look, and on the screen, that person would not have posted that.
No.
Did you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that is what we're in right now. And
I know, it's scary.
Yes.
Well, and it's like, you know, I've been in this industry for a really long time, and it's like, my body has been, you know, I've been pregnant, I've been really, really thin, I've been really not thin, you know, and it's like, I took Alex's class before I came, and again, downtown, a younger group of women who I like admire, and I'm so stoked that they're there, but I like am comparing myself with, like, side by side to two 20-year-olds in matching sets with six packs. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You gave birth to them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You cannot.
You know, but it's hard, and you have to like remind yourself that, and like, it's just, it's tough.
Yeah. And when you're seeing it all the time and you see celebrities and all these different influencers and things, and it's like, no one's being transparent of like what they're injecting into their faces and things. I mean, we're just, and
you have no idea. You're like, we are being advertised to 24/7.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes
real.
the shit that shows up to my house, like, I'm like,
well, the things that have found me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, the shit that shows up to my house. You guys have to tell me if this is you. 2 menopause books have the past 2 months, and I don't know who it is.
There's no
them.
But I'm like, someone's found me.
Wait, who?
I don't know.
Are you having night sweats?
I know. I was like, I don't even think I'm whatever. But like, I don't know.
That's so weird.
Isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Is it a sign from my guide?
Yeah.
Like, it's coming.
Yeah. But we were talking about, like, so Court and I both turned 40 this year, and I feel like we're on this brink of like shit happening, right?
Yeah.
Like, shit has happened. Shit is currently happening. Stuff is coming up. Like, we have friends going through some real stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I do know. I think it's in my 40s is why it's happening. But I look at the young women that are taking your classes, and I'm a little bit jealous, to be honest. I'm like, I wish when I was in my 20s, I had started this work a lot earlier. So whether or not they're on their phones or not, I do give them a round of applause.
Totally.
For doing what
No,
they're doing.
and you know what? It's like, at some point, something's seeping in.
Yeah.
Is that called osmosis?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
That's it.
Yeah,
Lindsay would know.
something is seeping in, and hopefully I actually get surprised sometimes by like the messages I get from people that are in the rooms that they're like, you don't know me by name and and I'm like, I thought that girl was not listening. I thought she was bored, you know, and that's my own shit. That's like my own ego getting in the way.
Like what you project.
Totally. Yeah. And like, she's like, I'm recovering from an eating disorder, and this has been the one place, and this and that. And like, I hear stories like that all the time. People going through recovery, going through divorce, going through death, like whatever it is. And I do think that that's kind of a very special part of our job, that we get to be part of those recovery journeys, whatever it is. And we don't even have to really know, you know, we just know that we're in there holding space and it's working.
Because everybody's going through something.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're kind of using, like, my girlfriend that was here this weekend, that she has breast cancer, and I was telling her, I'm like, you have to like break to get the cracks that lets the light in.
100%.
You know, and then it's up to you with what to do with that new light source. You're doing that, you know? And like you said, for 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. And so I still like kind of want to go back to like, what are you loving right now? Like, what currently is the most exciting about your business in any of the studios?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you like? Because it's probably evolved.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, sometimes I'm like, do you guys even need me anymore?
No, you are. You are the one that got the cracks.
I'm always trying to like create new. So we had a team meeting yesterday with my leadership team to talk about Renew, because I really want to it's changed from the original idea. The original idea was like, we're going to teach slower flow classes, this and that, and then we're the works. So we attracted a lot of people for these mat classes, which is great, and they're smart and they're fun, but I was like, Carter's like, is it just kind of like Renew is like an extension of the works, this and that, like how do we differentiate, like all these things. And I just was like, you know, if I'm going to kind of like what you were saying, like I don't go with my like I don't half-ass anything. I go in with my full ass. And like, I'm like, if we're going to do this, like so if we're going to be a mat studio, I want it to be like super smart, super anatomically based, working with women, because it is attracting a little bit of an older demographic, you know, that don't want to, maybe every day they don't want to be in a hot room, or they don't want to be mat to mat or cycling or whatever it is. So I'm like, I want everyone to like, we're going to do a training. I'm going to educate. We're going to talk about pelvic floor. Like, you know.
Oh, I love that part.
So,
I'm going. I love it. I'm turning 40.
Yeah.
I am your target market.
Yeah, you are actually for that room for
and
sure.
I have
like,
been to Renew. So
she's been to Mount Pleasant. Was that just to pick up clothes, or did you take a class?
I do love the shop. The shop.
Yes, the shop is the reason to stop.
The class.
Yeah.
Good. Who did I take it with? I'm gonna feel so bad for not getting it right.
There's thousands of people. Yeah. So I mean, we're constantly in growth mode, and I mean, Lindsay's heard the same story for 5-6 years because I had a podcast with Lindsay for a long time. But like, we're always looking to grow outside of the market, and like every time we start to, something happens and it pulls me back, and I'm just like kind of listening to that. Like recently, we were looking at some spots in Miami to do like a pop-up, and we connected with this guy who, this is like what he does, which is a cool job. Like he is a pop-up real estate agent.
Oh, fun.
And the listings he's like worked with Adidas and Jay-Z and like all these people. So right there, I was like, ding, ding, ding. This motherfucker is way out of my price range. But the first listing he sent us was $51,000 a month for rent.
What?
Yes.
Oh
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think that we're doing this topless?
Yeah. What is the class price?
Right. I mean, I was just like, oh my God. And then like some of the other listings were crazy expensive. And I was like, okay, well, let's like bring it back in. Let's like, so growth is always on the radar. And you know, I don't know, like I'm playing around with a few other ideas right now, but it's just, as you guys know, it can be hard sometimes when you have kids and like you're trying to like, I'm like, or should I put more energy there or do this or do that? And so I don't know. I mean, what I'm most excited about, I think, at the studio is really watching the young leadership step up and like kill it. Yeah. They're so good. I mean, like Maddie, for example, I mean, she really has stepped into her power. She's completely committed. Like she lives the work 100%. You know, she pays for herself to go fly across the country to do training so she can just keep getting better and better. She writes a ton of our curriculum for teacher trainings and workshops. And just seeing people that are hungry for it. Yeah. Because like, I love this and I want to do it in some shape or form forever, but like growing old in tights in front of a mirror is a lot, you know.
It's a lot of pressure.
There's days I just want to put on clothes.
Yeah.
Wear my sweatpants.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So you see it in some instructors. You're like,
100%.
I see your hunger.
You know, and I've said this before, and I say it I've trained so many people in this town because I ran teacher trainings at my old studios too. But like, if you want the industry to take you seriously, you have to take it seriously because you can make a very good career out of this, but you have to hustle. You have to work your ass off. You know, we make our money in 45 and 60 minute increments, and it's a lot of shuffling and driving and like doing privates and doing retreats and leading trainings and stuff. But it's very fulfilling if you love it.
Yeah.
And you have to be committed. And there's, you know, a level of like respect as well. Like I respect everyone that works for me, and in turn, I believe they feel the same way. And sometimes, you know, I mean, Maggie and I have been working together for a long time. Maggie and I have had some of the hardest conversations ever, just as we growing pains, you know, but I know where her heart is and she knows where mine is. And like, we can come back and meet in the middle. And
I love that.
A good thing.
There's a book called Crucial Conversations.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah. I used to work for Limited Brands. It was like a required reading for leadership.
Okay.
But it's like, once you can just be like, we have to have those.
Yeah.
Then it's like the elephant's out of the room. Like,
totally.
we have to be able to talk about hard shit.
Well, and I think
go there.
women in leadership too, like you take the confront out of confrontation. It's a conversation. Yeah. It doesn't have to be contentious to be able to like get to the point. Yeah. It's not like, I'm not going to say it's like butterflies and rainbows. Yeah. But if we're both coming at it like open-minded, even if one of us walks away and we're like disappointed by the outcome of the conversation, at least we both knew that we were like listening to each other and not trying to like speak over each other, battle each other, or rush the conversation.
And you got it out of your body. Like you got it out.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't received well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's something about
that. Uncomfortable conversations. And I think
it's hard.
Yeah. Doing like, sometimes I'll pop into the room on a Tuesday, or I like to do cycle on Wednesdays with Carter. And it's like, I have to do something uncomfortable that day, or I just did something uncomfortable, and it just helps you get out of your mind, and you're like, but I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like it needed to happen.
Yeah. For sure.
What's interesting is if you ever see this, like with men, it's like they see someone that's like them and they want to take them under their wing and they want to mentor them. And with women, that can be perceived as a threat. And so that's so interesting that you're excited.
Yeah.
I mean, interesting in a good way, that you're excited to see something in someone and you want to pull it out and grow it and nurture it, because I'm always like, you know, trying to read all these books about like female leadership, because that is what it is. It's like encompassing that like mothering thing that we all have, and just being like, I see myself in you. Like even when you're frustrated, I see like I do that, or you know, and you can coach that, because you can be like in my 20s, for example. Yeah. And that's amazing that you're doing that, because that's what we need in female leadership. We need vulnerability and truth and correction. I mean, like you just said, it's like people are on phones too much. Yeah. That's not going away. Yeah. So like addressing it in a kind way and reframing it or guiding it, you know? Yeah. That is probably so much of your role right now, because I have been also managing this younger, you know, generation, and it is a thing. Yeah. You know? And so it is smart to just tackle it in a kind way.
And I think like part of my hiring process is, you know, we do apprenticeships and mentorships before you come on. Like our culture is really, really important to us. We lay it all on the table, and we are like, if this isn't for you, so much respect. Yeah. But like these are the principles by what we follow, and like, here's how it works.
I love that.
I love that. Taking notes. Right? We talk a lot about like what our business is going to look like in the future. And I mean, it's very women heavy. Yeah. Like it just needs to be. That's just because that's where our hearts are. Yes. Yeah. But I love that you do that. I know you have a few men that work at the studio too.
Yeah. They don't like women though. I mean, they like them. So. They don't want to lay in bed with them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're like one of us.
Perfect.
But, you know, I think women too, you know, I mean, I have 2 sons. I love men. I'm not, you know, but like women, especially like women put their money like towards, you know, education, community, healthcare. Yeah. So it's like, and when you support women, you're also supporting like, you know, like the pay gap, which is still huge in our state. And you know, like my studio is not like the cheapest, but like, but I pay my teachers really well. So like you're supporting the conversation. So it has to be more than just like, buy my product. Like what's the ethos of the company, you know? Yeah. And like, why does that matter? And educating people on it. People want to be part of something. They really do.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially I mean, Charleston is a big city now, you know, like it's getting bigger, but it feels small. Yeah. And so I think that's true. It's like you want to support the local yoga studio that also has all these women working at it.
Oh, yeah, please buy small. Truly, like you're supporting your neighbors. Yeah. You know, and listen, I'd throw an Amazon order too. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
But we're moms, so you have to do sometimes the easy thing.
But you know, if you can find it local, like wait an extra day to get it.
Right.
You know? And I think that's another thing. Speaking about attention spans in kids, like my kids know because they're like my youngest son's waiting on these Uggs. Only kid that wants Uggs for summer shoes. But I'm like, you earn the money, buddy. You wear Uggs all summer? Yeah. I don't care. And they came and they were too small, and so we had to send them back yesterday. And the first thing he said this morning was not even good morning. I had like one eye popped open. He's like, Mom, when do my Uggs get here? And I'm like, well, we didn't get them from Amazon, so it's going to take a few.
Yeah. You know? 5 to 7 days.
Yeah, you can wait 5 to 7 days for your summer shoes.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have like anything that if there's anyone listening today, like especially if they're feeling alone or unsure of their next step, that you would want to say to them?
I mean, I think like if you're unsure, I think I kind of said it, like stop waiting for someone to do it. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone to tell you, honestly, right off the rip, you're doing a good job. Like if you want it, and this is kind of controversial in the like less hustle culture, but I think that's also generational. And like I did, like there's no suits behind us. Like everything we did, I did. John and I both started our business at the same time. We went in with nothing. Like you got to put your back into it a little bit. Don't be scared to work. Do not be scared to work. Stop looking for handouts. My dad told me this when I graduated college. If you think it's too good to be true, it's because it is. And you know, just try. And if it doesn't work, that doesn't mean you're a failure. Like try something else.
It means you learn something from it, right? It's like
every experience. We do this. We have people that we hold auditions every year, especially for people that did our teacher training, this and that. And 20 people audition and 2 maybe get it. And I always tell them, I'm like, and that's like literally the hardest part of my job, because as a trying to recover people pleaser, I'm like, wish I could help everybody, but I can't. But I'm like, there is so much growth. Like there's beauty in that breakdown, you know, like, okay. We give really clear feedback, like about what worked and what didn't. And
I love that.
Yeah. Like you learn from everything. I remember like getting divorced at 26 and being like, I am such a loser. All my friends were getting married, you know? And I'm like, my mom said to me, she was like, babe, you are just the first. You're not going to be the only one. So sometimes you're just kind of like a beacon before, like shining light. Now all my friends are getting divorced. I'm like, been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, it's so real to go back to.
And you're probably so much better able to hold space for them. Like, I think one of the most important things about grief is not taking people out of it, but letting them sit in it in the moment. And the more experiences we have as we get older, the more able I'm like, let me just sit here with you while you're going through this. Yeah.
Let me just sit with you, let you cry, hold your hand, lay in bed.
Yeah.
Whatever you need. I'll just sit in your living room if you want to take a nap. Like that was one thing too with when this was all happening with Tom, like, and I don't even fold my own laundry. Okay. But I wanted to be close to Jen in proximity, but she needed to be with him. And she was like, can you just be here? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I folded I would just wash clean laundry. I was like, we're going to fold laundry. We're going to empty the fridge. And I just think it's like, just be with.
Oh, it's so true.
Be with. That's all.
Be with.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. This was fun.
Will you tell everyone where we can follow you, find you, and how we can take classes?
So you can follow the businesses on Instagram at The Works CHS, at The Works Renew, at The Works Cycle. And then you can sign up for classes. There will be links on all of that, but theworkschs.com and theworkscycle.com. And then my personal account is Sarah Lives Yoga.
Oh, I love that. So everyone give them a follow. And we have a special code. So if you guys want 15% off a reading with me, you can use The Works to book an appointment, or you can use The Works gift for a gift certificate, and you can give that to any and all of your friends.
Thank you guys so much.